Okay, good morning everybody. We are going to go over our quiz from Friday. So I'm just going to work through all of the problems with you. This was a no calculator quiz, so we will not be using our calculators. We will be going through each problem to make sure that we've got it straightened out. So here we go. First question said, find the cosine of negative 3 pi over 4. So you, I'm sure, changed your cosine, changed your angle into degrees. So you said cosine negative 135. And you change that into degrees by taking pi, which is 180, divided by 4 times 3. So you got 135. It's a negative 135 though, so we have to be careful. Negative 135 would put us down here in this quadrant. Some of you weren't attentive to the negative. Make sure you're going down. Negative 135 would give me a reference angle of 45 degrees. So we have a negative 1, a negative 1, and a root 2 as our triangle side values for a 45 degree reference angle. So we want the cosine. Cosine is negative 1 over root 2 or negative root 2 over 2. The next one says the tangent of pi. Pi is on an axis. It is right here. That's the point where x is negative 1, y is 0, if r is 1. This is 180. That's pi, halfway around the circle. Tangent is y over x. That will be 0 over negative 1 or 0. A bunch of you put undefined. I'm not sure why that was. Remember, the only way you can be undefined is if you have 0 in the bottom. You do not have 0 in the bottom here. So be careful about that. Number 3, we've got this kind of bad-looking equation. And we want to know, first of all, if it's sinusoidal. Clearly, it is not. And here is why. We need to find the period of each of these two sections. So the period here would be 2 pi divided by a half, which is 4 pi. And the period here would be 2 pi divided by a third, which is 6 pi. These two periods don't match. So if you graphed this, while you got something that would probably be wavy and whatever, it would not be a sinusoid. This is not sinusoidal. Okay, the periods don't match. Now, that doesn't mean it's not periodic though. The whole sum, or difference in this case, the whole thing will be periodic because this one, the first part, repeats every 4 pi. So it'll repeat at 4 pi, 8 pi, 12 pi, 16 pi, and so on. The second part will repeat at 6 pi, 12 pi, and so on. Notice that they're both going to start over at 12 pi. Therefore, the curve will start repeating itself. The whole curve will start repeating itself at 12 pi. The period of this thing is 12 pi. Number 4, find the angle whose sine is negative 1/2. Find the angle whose sine is negative 1/2. That angle would be in quadrant 4. I know that because inverse sine is a right side function. That's a negative number. It can't be in quadrant 1, therefore it must be in quadrant 4. There is a certain amount of memorization you have to do, kids. You have to memorize that this means that side, quadrants 1 and 4. This is a negative 1, this is a 2, this is a root 3, that's a 30-degree angle right there. So the answer to the question is negative 30 degrees. You might be tempted to say 330, and while 330 would put you in the right spot, you are exactly right, it isn't allowed because you are only to involve, this part of the picture isn't even here with this notation. So you can't go around that way. It's like there's a wall there. So if you can't go around that way, you have to go down. You have to go down. Negative 30 is the only answer to the problem. Number 5 says, find the tangent of the angle whose cosine is 5/6. Find the tangent of the angle whose cosine is 5/6. Well, where is the angle whose cosine is 5/6? This notation, that's a top half function. That's a positive 5/6, so we got to draw it in quadrant 1. Everything's positive in quadrant 1. Cosine would not be positive over here. And these are your only two options. Now the wall is down here. We can't go down here. So cosine, 5/6. Make sure, adjacent over hypotenuse, 5/6. This would be 36 minus 25, so that would be the square root of 11 by the Pythagorean theorem. If you cannot do that in your head, then write it down. 5 squared plus x squared equals 6 squared, and solve that, root 11. We want the tangent of this angle. That would be opposite over adjacent, root 11 over 5. Number 6, find the radius in the given situation is a pi over 7 radian measure central angle and an arc length of 4. Arc length equals radius times radians. So 4 equals r times pi over 7. Multiplying both sides by 7 gives us 28 equals r times pi. Dividing by pi, your answer is 28 over pi centimeters. 28 over pi centimeters. Number 7, what is the period of this cotangent? The period of any tan and cotan starts out at pi. We're dividing by 1/3, that's 3 pi. Your period is pi divided by 1/3, that is 3 pi. Okay, backside. Number 8, we're going to sketch one period of this little sine curve. Now do remember that when you sketch, this coefficient has to be factored out of the parentheses. So if it weren't, that would be step 1. Now ours is factored out, but you must always factor, if there's a number here, you got to pull it out before you do your sketching. Okay, so here we go. We got a sine curve. Our phase shift is pi over 8. This curve starts right here. It is a positive sine curve with an amplitude of 3. Its period was supposed to be 2 pi, but this one has been divided by 1/5, so it is actually 10 pi. That means that from this black point to this black point is a distance of 10 pi. So this label will be 1/8 plus 10 pi. That is 1/8 plus 80/8. So this is 81 pi over 8. 10 and 1/8 pi's. This will be the midpoint, the average of 1 and 81. 1 plus 81 is 82. Divided by 2 is 41. Pi over 8. This will be the midpoint of 1 and 41. 1 plus 41 is 42, divided by 2 is 21. Pi over 8. 41 and 81 makes 122. Half of 122 is 61. Pi over 8. This curve has no vertical shift. There is no number on the end. If there were, I would simply pick the curve up or lower it that many units. So if that were a +1, I would simply take all these points and pick them up 1 unit. The frequency is always the reciprocal of the period. So for this curve, it is 1 over 10 pi. 1 divided by 10 pi. Now I know the tangent is 3/4, and I am between 180 and 270. So I am down here in quadrant 3, 180 to 270, and the tangent is 3/4. Notice I put negatives in there. There's no negative in the problem because they canceled out, but we've got quadrant 3, x and y are both negative. Doing the Pythagorean theorem, the hypotenuse is 5. What do I want to know? Sine. The sine is -3/5. That's it. Onward and upward, that's all there is to that. Okay, now I got a bird sitting in a tree, or sitting in a flagpole, excuse me, looking at a beetle. So here's the flagpole, here's the bird, here's the bug. Bird looking at bug. His angle of depression is 27, so I'll put that 27 down here because angles of depression always match angles of elevation. The beetle is 100 meters from the bird. Here's the bug, here's the bird, this is 100 meters. Find the height of the pole. Looks like I'll use sine. So the sine of 27 equals x over 100, and x equals 100 sine 27. That's all you could do because you did not have a calculator. So that was it. And now we're going to find the secant of pi over 6, which is the secant of 30 degrees, 180 divided by 6. So I will draw 30 degrees, label the sides of my triangle. I need the secant. Okay, wait, secant is reciprocal of cosine. Cosine is adjacent over hypotenuse, so secant is going to be hypotenuse over adjacent. So that will be 2 over root 3, or 2 root 3 over 3. There's the answer to the question. And that's it for the quiz. If you still have questions about something, lean over and ask your neighbor. I'm sure there were a lot of really good papers, so somebody can give you a hand. Good luck.